Also focusing on security this morning, and yes, next guest will be coming to us from Abuja. Makwe.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. Well, we're joined in our Abuja studios by Mr. Gbanite, who is a security consultant. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me, Bonte.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, you've seen the conversation so far so good and what's going on in the Niger Delta. Yes. Excuse me, there seems to be some repetition in my ear right now. Excuse me. You've seen the conversations going on in the Niger Delta and some of the negotiations that are said to be happening. What do you make of them? Because initially we had heard that the federal government wasn't in negotiations, at least from the Niger Delta Avengers. But now MEND is coming out to say we are indeed in negotiations, and these are some of the agreements that we're beginning to reach.
Well, I haven't heard or read anything from the government perspective about the negotiation, and the government remains the chief negotiator. And I have always said that whether you're going to negotiate or talk or discuss, any reasonable government must do that from a position of strength. It is good to negotiate with MEND. It is good to negotiate with the Avengers. It is good to negotiate with the IPOB. It is good to even rehabilitate some Boko Haram people. After all, they're all Nigerians. But the issue is, what is government's position? And we haven't heard government spokesman come and say tacitly, this is our position on this matter. And that is the finality. Until government comes out to say, we have indeed negotiated, and these are the outcomes of the negotiation, then there is believability. Is
government's negotiation at all with whatever group, is it in doubt for you?
I don't want to use the word in doubt. We are in a nation where propaganda, takes to reign, and the print journalists are quite creative. They write things that are not meant to be written until we hear directly from government. And perhaps government wants to keep it on the lead until the finality of the negotiation, then to come out and say, we have finally negotiated. What about if it doesn't go through? What about that?
No, because on more than one occasion, we've heard government say, we are negotiating with Niger Delta militants. The question has been for a lot of people, who exactly are you negotiating with? Because the Niger Delta Avengers at that time had come out to say, no, government is not in any negotiations with us.
Look, Mope, in the past, during the past administration, we also heard that government was negotiating with Boko Haram. It took revelation of this administration to see that someone allegedly collected $40 million for a fake negotiation. So let government be consistent. Government have spokesmen. Let government spokesmen, Adeshino, Shehu Gaba, come out and say, we are indeed, there must be element of believability. The print journalists cannot just come and tell us what government is saying without a proper government position on that.
So there indeed you have read, I mean, in some instances the government says, I mean, you've read somewhere.
I've read somewhere where government said, we are negotiating. Who are you negotiating? Every organization or every organ must have its chief negotiator. There must be names mentioned. MEND must have a spokesperson. MEND must have a negotiator. Are you talking to Chief Edwin Clark as the father of the Ijaw nation to tell his sons to stop what they are doing? Are you talking to the governors of Niger Delta to say, look, you need to bring these people again to normalcy? Who are you talking to? Which traditional ruler in the Niger Delta are you talking to? There must be element of transparency. If you want it to be clothed in secrecy, then you keep it in secrecy until you have come up with all the, again, everything you have negotiated and every guideline and every decision that has been made and promises, every T, I dotted, then you come out and make your public pronouncement.
So you're taking the statement by MEND, because MEND was said to have released a statement, I think, as a Saturday or Sunday. You're taking their statement with a pinch of salt.
I am taking it with a pinch of salt, really, because until federal government in itself comes out to tell the nation, we have indeed spoken to MEND, and we have come to XYZ conclusion. And based on that, we have also negotiated with the Avengers. Who are the Avengers? We have so many fake generals in this place, we don't know who the real generals are. So let them be man enough, let them be brave enough to come out and show their face. This morning I read in the paper that our car brothers will be released. On what mandate? They were charged with murder. So what mandate are you going to release them? Then this morning, IPOB says we will not accept any conditionalities for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So, isn't that a blight? If government has come out to say we are negotiating and there are conditionalities and they must meet it. So, government sometimes should not until the finality of the negotiation.
No, but when you begin to hear statements like that, especially from IPOB, for instance, because part of the statement released by MEND was talking about the IPOB leader, that he will be released on the condition that Biafra is denounced, that there will be no more agitations for Biafra, at least by his group. And then you get IPOB saying, well, we will not accept any conditionalities. Doesn't that give some credibility to the fact that there are indeed some negotiations happening somewhere?
Well, if we are to look again perceptive discussion, then one can say there is believability. But in the actual, government have not come out to say we are indeed negotiating and these are the terms of the negotiation. We have given this people, after all, it is a government resolution that we are going to abide by. Government ought to come out and say, we did talk to MEND, they shouldn't be shy about it. These are Nigerians, we did talk to IPOB, and these are their conditions, and these are what we are able to meet, or what we can meet or not meet. And the condition of saying denunciation, look, the denunciation of Biafra was already in written, in the surrender note given in 1970. We've already agreed, we capitulated, we already have our Biafra.
Just a moment, you talked about credibility.
Yes.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, was criticized for a statement he made about how we're negotiating, or government will negotiate. If it fails, then they're going to use force. And a lot of people said, if you're negotiating, why talk about force in the middle of a negotiation? Do you think that that itself could give some credibility to the fact that government is negotiating, if credibility is the issue?
The army speaks again, and government negotiation. Army is not negotiating with MEND. And the Chief of Army
has a question for you.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Gbanite, my question has to do with, well, you talked about someone who headed the amnesty program coming back to give account of what he did. You've also talked about the fact that the people in the South don't seem to be looking after themselves. They're always talking about the federal government, the federal government. There are those who argue that the bulk of the resources that were taken from the South were used to build the federal capital territory. So there has to be a sort of reciprocity on that part. The question I want to ask is, when we do negotiations, implementation, the last negotiation that was done with the people of the Niger Delta, what about implementation as in development of the Niger Delta region? How much of it has been done? And now that we are negotiating, what's the guarantee that there will not be a relapse? Our last guest talked about long-term plans that were not followed through. Would that be the situation again?
Thank you, Neto, for the highlights. Let me see if I can take it in chronological order. The Niger Delta funds was used in building Abuja. Of course, it should be used to build a federal capital territory. It is a national fund. It does not belong to Niger Delta. Only 13% of our oil are onshore. The rest are offshore. And United Nations Littoral Acts extended to 300 nautical miles. And you don't own the ocean, so to speak. Number two, before we found this oil, we had a city of Port Harcourt, city of Benin, Warri. There are ports there. What money was used to develop them? In 1963, the late Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, under the invitation of Dapriye, who is late, saw the devastation in the area, not by oil at that particular point in time, but lack of development. And he charged the 3 regions